everyone. I'm Monica Betancourt with Berkshire Hathaway EWM. Welcome to the next episode of Q&A Corner with MBG Realtors Miami. Today we're going to focus on a question that we get asked a lot by both buyers and sellers. And that is, what exactly are seller concessions and how do they work? Well, the short and simple answer is that a seller concession is a credit given by the seller to the buyer at closing for a variety of reasons. These could include mitigation for repairs, or the fact that maybe both parties agree that the house price was a little high at contract and they want to reduce it. Either way, just remember it's a credit given by the seller to the buyer, or it can be a price reduction prior to closing. Whether you're a buyer or a seller, there are some important things that you need to know. Seller concessions are not automatically given, and they're not necessarily given. Normally, what happens is that after the inspections, the buyer reads the inspection report, and if there are some circumstances where major repairs need to be made, or maybe the house is in a different condition than the buyer and seller anticipated at the time of signing the contract, then the buyer can use this report as a negotiating tool with the seller to request either a price reduction or a credit at closing. From a buyer's perspective, there's really no downside to getting a seller concession. It's a win-win. Either you get a credit at closing, which means you need less cash to close, which means you have more cash in your pocket, or you get a price reduction, which reduces your mortgage amount and therefore your payments. And also you record the property at a lower price point on the tax rolls, which again will cause a reduction in your property taxes. Depending on your circumstances and whether or not you'd like a little more cash now or a little less payment in your mortgage for the future, then you can choose which option you'd like to request, a price reduction or a credit at closing. From the seller's perspective, a seller concession can also be a good thing. Some sellers are hesitant at first to want to give a concession to the buyer. But here's what I say to sellers. You have a ready, able, qualified buyer, willing to close. They have been through the process of inspections, they know your house, they want your house, and this is the last piece of the negotiation. If you give them the concession or the price reduction that they're requesting, you're going to move forward to closing and be able to move on to your next real estate goal, whether you're upsizing, downsizing, relocating, whatever that may be. If you don't agree to a concession and the buyer decides to cancel the contract, then you're starting all over from scratch. We will, of course, find you another qualified buyer, but that might take weeks or months. So please, I ask them to take into account the cost of holding on to that house for a few months or maybe longer versus giving the buyer the credit or price reduction that they're requesting, or some point in between. There's always a negotiation that can make buyer and seller happy or at least satisfied, and that we can move forward with the transaction if both parties can achieve their goals. The only thing we haven't talked about exactly are when a lender requests a credit to closing costs, then they do usually have a limit of how much that credit can be, and they give that information to the seller right up front, and the seller does not have to agree to that. So that's a different scenario than the buyer asking for a credit after inspections, and that's something that your professional realtor will help you understand and decide along with all the other information that we have for you. A price reduction for the seller might be a better option because then they make a little bit less profit on their home, which means they pay less taxes, right? You're going to pay taxes, income taxes, on the profit you make on your home. If you are making less of a profit, then you will pay less taxes. So again, depending on the individual circumstance of each sale and each purchase, regarding whatever side you're on, then your realtor will help you to make the appropriate decision along with your lender and your tax advisors so that the buyers and sellers are all happy and satisfied at the end of the day. We at the Monica Betancourt Group always try to help you and advise you, and we do suggest that you consult with the appropriate professionals such as your tax professional, your CPA, and your lender, along with us, to make the appropriate decision. If you have any further questions regarding seller concessions, if you've been in a situation where you weren't certain of what, if anything, to ask for as a buyer, or what, if anything, to concede as a seller, call us. We'll be happy to give you our opinion and help you through that process. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.